Hey, everybody, we're back for Warrior Wednesdays, and with me is a very special family who I had the privilege of meeting thanks to a Make a Wish we granted for that kid. Wait, is that a bear on your shirt, Josh?
No, it's a fox.
It's a
Oh, it's a
fox.
fox. Hey, what does the fox say?
The orange is fluffy.
There you go.
Well, that's
The fox of the orange is fluffy.
well, what we're doing with this is the first Warrior Wednesdays where we've actually had an entire family. It's the Salmoiraghis. Is that wait? Let me ask the pronunciation again.
Salmoiraghi.
Salmoiraghi. It's Italian, Salmoiraghi. So it's Joseph, Amanda. There's Joshua. We got little baby Elijah. I know Timothy and Benjamin are probably running around the house as well.
No, they're at school.
Yeah.
They're at school.
School.
Yeah, I'm going to school today.
You're going to
I
school,
have
Joshua.
and a funny hat.
Well, you're the reason we're on here. I'm actually wearing a shirt, Joshua Ninja Warrior. So we just got to grant a wish. And why don't, Joe, I'll ask you to tell the story of what Josh has been going through. See, he's 5 now, but what he's been going through since he was 3.
So at the age of 3 on Father's Day weekend, he was diagnosed with stage 4 Wilms tumor, which is kidney cancer in mostly children. Basically, from that point, he had his left kidney removed. He started immediately on chemotherapy and then radiation. That took us until December of 2017. And then he was considered in remission, which we were extremely excited about, had a big party.
Right.
And then, not even 30 days later, we were told by the doctor that they had done a follow-up scan and found tumors in his lungs. And so from that point, they went in, took one of them out of his lung to biopsy it, said, yep, it's the Wilms tumor back. And so then we moved here to Colorado, where then he started a whole new, harsher regimen of the chemotherapy, which was a lot worse on him. And then after that, we had the chest radiation, which was kind of scary from past family history. My mother died from the after effects of having whole chest radiation, but he had that. And then as of the end of last year, he was considered in remission, and we're just keeping fingers, toes, and everything crossed that it stays that way.
So one of the things with Warrior Wednesdays is we don't just tell stories, but I want people to learn from what you've gone through, because as a family, I think you guys have fought this
What is that
so
picture
gracefully.
behind you?
It's a whole bunch of me, Josh. That's the way it is. But today's about you and your family. And Joe and Amanda, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, when people are dealing with an obstacle and you think you have success, you think you had a beat, only, as you said, 30 days later to be told not only is it back, it's stage 4. How do you continue to fight? How did you find the strength in that moment?
Well, in our faith.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the biggest thing. I'm a pastor, and we're Christians, and so for us, that was the biggest foundation for us. The hardest part for us was knowing that it was back, and that we were, because the military was moving us out here. Mm-hmm. So we were definitely stressed out, and
we lost our support system.
Yeah,
that was the harshest thing.
Wow.
So, because being in LA, it's expensive to live there. But we were military, so we were on the military housing down in San Pedro. So we had a very good concrete foundation of not only the military families, but the church that I was serving at, and then other churches in the area. So we had like a fantastic support system. And then it was like, now we're not going to have that anymore.
So talk about life stressors. You're dealing with his cancer. You have to do a move. And at this point, Amanda, were you pregnant with baby Elijah, or had baby Elijah been born?
Not yet, no.
So that was still in the future.
We were here for a few months before we found out we were pregnant. So.
It's really interesting to me as I've done Warrior Wednesdays. One of the things that universally people talk about is a support system, is finding that support. Now that's taken away. You move to a new community. How do you get the support you need when you're in the middle of the battle?
We didn't have it in the beginning. We didn't, and that's just what happens when you move to a new place. We had the stressors not only moving in, but we had the stressors of she was starting her new position at the Air Force Base, which of course meant she's gone. We had also the stressors of meeting the new doctor at the local facility, but then realizing that we had to commute up to Denver to do all his treatments and things like that. And that was stressful because, the doctor was a lot more, I don't know how to put it, to the point on what his condition was and what the possible road could look like from, yes, this next treatment could work, or if it doesn't, we have to do the following things to prepare for a third battle or in a fourth battle. And, and that's hard to swallow when you came from doctors and nurses that were more upbeat and hopeful, and you were like, yay, we're winning, and then now we're not.
I think that's a great point, because so often people don't know how to handle dealing with the medical professionals when they're dealing with these obstacles. And for you, it sounds like you went through a radical switch. So how did you adapt to that when you had this doctor who had a completely different approach?
Well, we took it differently. I know I can talk from my end. It was a lot harder and more emotional. She's the engineer. She's more compartmentalized.
Well, I just want the facts and the plan. And
and me, I'm the one that's looking for the heart in the matter. And is there a better way you could have brought that to us where it's not so painful?
You're a good yin and yang.
Yeah, which is good. I mean, that's how we balance each other out. But that was hard because obviously it's like we come home, we didn't have people to lean on here, or like, as a guy, I didn't have a guy to bro down with, or just go get some wings and just let it all out. And, I didn't have that when we got here. And it took a lot longer here to get any type of support system in place, because obviously we're new. We had just moved in the house. She was just starting her job.
And we were dealing with, doctor's visits and not around on weekends to go meet people and do things either.
Yeah.
So you have 2 other children you're raising with Benjamin and Timothy. So, in those times, this is what I always love for people to hear. Those are obviously probably some of the darkest times you go through, when you're feeling alone. You're getting this bad news. You're worried about your child. What did you do to get yourself up every morning and be there for him and for each other?
We just had to. I mean, it was our faith, number one, but I mean, you don't really have a choice. I mean, you got 2 other kids, you got him to take care of and prepare.
Responsibility, just the sense of, there's no choice in this matter.
I think one of the things that struck us both was that we had been spending so much energy on Joshua and our other kids. We really needed to focus on, making sure we didn't forget about them, taking them out one-on-one, and just making sure they didn't feel neglected,
Yeah, and with her working, at the time, well, still is, but she's on maternity leave, obviously. But with her working, I mean, I was the one that had to stay home.
Right.
Which in its own right was good, being a pastor. I mean, I could do that better than probably a regular job. But the hard part that definitely happens is you get cabin fever. The whole family does. I mean,
well, I think that's a great point, though. Just what you said. Not only are you dealing with making sure the other children don't feel neglected, but how do you explain it to them, what their brother's going through?
Well, obviously each of them are different. They each have their own personalities. Like our Timothy, who was the middle child time, he's more artsy and emotional, and so his reactions to everything was to just close up or just want to snuggle, and we just try to talk him through it. And Benjamin, the oldest, is kind of more like his mom, so he was able to we could talk to him and be like, hey, this is what's happening.
Right.
Your brother's going to the hospital. He's going to have a lot of needles. He's going to lose his hair. He's going to be sick. And so
a few people got us different books on the human body, books for kids, but so we could explain it a little better. The hospital actually gave him what was it, a frog or something that had a port, and so he could understand what was going to happen to him. And his brothers came in there and they explained everything. And so I mean, they do try. The children's hospitals are pretty good about that.
So one of the things that's clearly so important to you is your faith. You're a pastor now, Joe. You were in the military. When you talk about faith, though, one of the things people say is, why me? And when you have faith, how do you answer that question when you feel like you're being given these challenges? What was your answer to that question? Because there had to be points where you're thinking, why is this happening to us? Or what is the message here? How do you deal with that? How do you get through it?
I'll admit, there was no initial thinking of why us, why him, because it happened so fast on that weekend that we went from something might be wrong to his cancer and immediately starting. I mean, it was just boom. So I know for those months between June and December, we just had no time to genuinely react. Does that make sense? It's because we're focused on him, focused on the situation. But in the midst of that, when we did have time to have a heart-to-heart as husband and wife, it wasn't a why me factor. It was really just giving the situation to the Lord in the sense of, the doctors and nurses are honest. Like, hey, he could get cured. He could forever battle this. He could die from this. And so our response was, well, as a Christian, we believe that the Lord will be glorified in the bad and the good of life and the circumstances he throws at us, that we basically said, then let this whole situation be honoring and glorifying the Lord, whether he is cured, miraculously healed through the doctors and nurses, or if he continues to battle, or even if he is to be taken away from us. Right. We basically put our trust in God in the sense of he's in control. We are not. All we can do is do what we can do as parents to love him and help make the best decisions with the doctors and nurses.
Now, I'm sorry.
It means to have the peace that surpasses understanding.
Yeah. So what impresses me too is you're saying all this right in front of Josh. So clearly you've had these talks in front of him, which can't be easy. Josh, how you doing, buddy? So what's it been like for you going through all of this? How have you felt and how have you held up?
It always feels good.
What feels good? Having family or friends or just waking up for another day?
Waking up for another day.
Wow, that sounds like some good gratitude right there. That's
amazing. The most
You're
challenging part as a parent. The most challenging part as a parent was, because he started so young, was seeing at the point where, well, there were two factors. One was when he didn't want to keep doing it, and you can't, and as a dad, you want to stop it. You're like, he's in pain, he doesn't like being sick, just stop. Can we just stop? And you just want to take him out of that.
Well, I've read about people so we're on a couple of support groups on Facebook, and people comment all the time about how things are affecting, their kids. And I've seen a couple people who decide to stop treatment for that reason. They just don't want to put their kid through it.
Right.
And the second thing that was hard, especially for me, was when we go up for his treatments, even the first time and even when we moved here, it was normal for him.
Right.
Like, just hop on the table, give me my IV, poke my port, let's do it, and it just...
He wasn't that...
No, but just he knew the motions and it was normal. During the week, if, he'd be like, oh, so when do I go for chemo again? Or, and it was weird as a parent to see a child be normal about it, to make that's their normal. And that was the part that was truly hard, was that, from 3 to 5, that was his normal. So
then you're blessed with another baby. But as you're dealing with these health issues, what are your thoughts when you find out, Amanda, you're pregnant again?
Actually, one of the hardest things was when I would go and be with him in the hospital for chemo. Chemo makes you get sick, and I couldn't touch his vomit. I couldn't help with anything because I could have affected him. Mm-hmm. So it was just a different dynamic.
Yeah.
Just another thing to be concerned about.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go with him to his CT scans anymore because I couldn't be in the room with him. So Joseph had to take that over too. So as thankful as we were for Elijah, it was definitely some additional things that we had to think about that weren't even issues before.
That, and when they were testing the DNA of the tumors they had picked out, one of the things they try to test is, where could this cancer have come from? Was it hereditary, in the sense, like, should the other two get tested?
Right.
But we found out, thankfully, that the type that he had was not a like something that were basically
Not
his
supposed to be
brothers, and there's no worries. And so that, obviously that was a worry, was, wow, we're having another baby, and, does that mean that this baby might be at risk? And the doctors were like, no. And so that was
he
good.
looks fine so far. So.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of talk about how you support each other, how you support, obviously, Joshua and your children. But what about taking time for yourself? Because I know when you're caregivers, sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. So how have you two in particular made sure that you've taken care of yourself physically and emotionally to be there for your family and each other?
You're right. That fell by the wayside a little bit.
It did. I mean, we're still trying to play catch up in that area.
Yeah.
Right.
Because like I said before, the cabin fever sets in because, especially like when summer would go by, he couldn't do anything. He can't go anywhere. He can't be around people. So, his brothers are like, where are we going on vacation? Nowhere. Where can we go here? Nope. Can we do this? Nope. And of course he can't go with us, so it's not like I could take 2 kids and leave him home alone.
Right.
So luckily we had one military family that let us borrow their tow camper for one night, and we went to the Air Force Academy and spent a night
camping
out of the house, just to get away.
But that's one thing we loved about Hope Kids too, is that they put together events for kids who are immunocompromised or who otherwise wouldn't be able to do various things.
Yeah, people would gift like suite tickets to like a Nuggets game.
Yeah, so
this way they weren't amongst the crowd.
You're separated from the crowd.
And that's one of the things with Warrior Wednesdays. We donate $250 to the charity of your choice, and you guys have chosen Hope Kids Colorado. So you've mentioned some of the things they do. What is the mission of Hope Kids?
Yeah, the mission of Hope Kids is basically to give a betterment of quality of life by having events where these kids and families can go to where they can't usually go do anything, whether they rent a whole movie theater to see a kids movie, or what he's had the chance to do is go to like a basketball game, a baseball game, just things like that where they can go and feel like a kid for a short amount of time to have fun and eat weird foods and just and that's what they do. They rent out whole facilities to have costume parties and things like that. So they plan things so that people like him and other kids with disabilities and illnesses and their families can go out. Hold on a second. Can go out and have that fun that they normally can't have. So that was a way that we were able to take the older boys and do where they felt like they were having fun too, and it wasn't just about him, which was a good thing for the family. It really was.
And they do sometimes have events just for the siblings, because a lot of times, like I said, the siblings might feel neglected or left behind. And there are things that the kids with severe disabilities wouldn't be able to do that their siblings can, and so they put on events like that too.
I gotta say, Josh, you remind me of me. You love the camera, buddy.
Yeah, he's so nice.
Yeah, he's a ham.
So
Part of that
Josh,
because we had that Gazette photographer.
Question, buddy. Josh, you've been through a lot, and there might be some kids out there who face what you do. What would you tell children who might be going through some of the same challenges you are? Do you have any words of advice that you would tell them?
Get more treatments.
So
to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Keep fighting. Well, that
would help them fight better.
Getting medicine.
The medicine is good for them. Yeah.
What else? What helped you?
Medicine.
Well, what else? People visiting you, right? That helped you feel good and get happy when you were feeling sick, right?
Well, one of the great things was with your Make-A-Wish, for those who don't know, with Make-A-Wish, we actually got to build an American Ninja Warrior course in your backyard, Josh. And we had Joshua Ninja Warrior. But what was so special to me was rather than a buzzer, there was a bell. And for Josh, that bell's been very special. Can you guys tell us what the bell has meant, not just on the course, but in his care?
Joshua, do you want to tell him about your bell in the hospital?
What did the bell mean?
That I was done.
And you were letting everybody know it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How good did it feel to ring that bell, buddy?
Good.
It's exciting, huh?
Yeah, and they make
Actually, very good.
And what's beautiful is that the hospitals, they make a really big deal of it. Like they line up all the doctors and nurses, and they get everyone out there to really cheer on the children. And they tell me they do it for the adults too. So it's that big of a deal that that they're saying it's the end of a long journey.
Well, they have 2 bells actually, one for the end of chemo and one for the end of radiation.
Mm-hmm.
So he's rung 2 bells.
He's actually rung 4 bells because the first round.
You do realize that American Ninja Warrior in the finals ringing 4 bells makes you an American Ninja Warrior. Josh, you've done it.
Buddy.
Sorry, I just forgot.
Well, I just wanted to say this is why we do Warrior Wednesdays, is because I know you guys you're in a great spot, but of course you still are in the middle of this, and this is an ongoing battle. And I know as you've met, there are so many families out there who are going through similar struggles. And to me, I love showing them the grace and the faith that you guys have used to get through this in the way you haven't lost your connection. And as a family, I mean, when we were there, you guys, this Make-A-Wish thing was supposed to be taking things off your plate. You guys hosted the party. Joe, you were setting everything up. And I was just so amazed at the way the love and the connection I felt in your family. And that's what I wanted people to see, because I think when they go through these struggles, like you say, if you don't have that support group or you go through those dark days, knowing there's someone else out there who's gone through it and is fighting well, I think helps people. And that's why I wanted them to see your story.
Biggest piece of advice I can give to any parents that are starting this journey is, number one, you're not alone. Yeah. That's something we found out pretty quickly. I think it's almost a shock when you realize we're a cancer family now, and that's hard to swallow.
Yeah.
Number two is people will know what you need. We're the type of people where we try to take care of things ourselves, and so when people were offering us money or wanting to raise funds or bring us food or do things in the house. They came and cleaned our house, and when we were living in LA.
Right.
It's things that's hard to accept because you feel embarrassed in some sorts, like and you don't know what you really need, because some people are like, well, what do you need? And you're like, I have no idea. And so what we learned the hard way was that other people know what you need, and to trust that, and to trust it when they tell you what you need.
Right.
And so that's
a way of getting help.
Yeah.
And Amanda, I know you're busy with our little warrior, but as the engineer, as the mom, do you have any advice that you think might help inspire people?
So you asked earlier about what it feels like and whether we thought why me and all. The thing I thought about after we were talking about it, I guess, is that bad things are going to happen, and it doesn't. Not the same bad thing is going to happen to everyone, but everyone's got to have a way of dealing with those things. And so I think really understanding that and just accepting that this is the crappy thing I've got to deal with. Other people have different crappy things to deal with. And so the why me question doesn't really help, but okay, what am I going to do about it? That's where me as the engineer went. What are we going to do about this, and how are we going to handle it? And I think a lot of my military training come in there too, where it was like, I'm not going to flip out. That's just not helpful.
Right.
We had those moments of, just kind of breaking down a bit. Everyone's going to have those moments, but it's really, how are you going to handle the overall long haul? And one of my mentors said to me at the very outset that this is not a sprint; it's going to be a marathon. Mm-hmm. I think it took us a while to recognize that was true, but it really has been. And so just not wasting all that energy up front with the fretting about it,
right.
Which, like I said, it's just not helpful. There's nothing good comes from that, but just keep that long haul. There's going to be an end to this, and how do I want to look back on it? How do I want to have gone through it? I don't think I could have seen that at the beginning, but I see it looking back now, and I'm glad that we decided to approach it the way that we did, where we decided right at the outset that this is going to suck, and that's nothing we can do about that, but we want God to be glorified, and we don't want to we want other people to see that in us, that we want God to be glorified out of this.
Right. So your military training, your training as a pastor, and your faith, those are all things that you had in place that you were able to lean on.
Yep.
So I think, that's one of the things too, is sometimes people wait until something bad happens to figure out how they're going to deal with adversity instead of
Right.
getting those systems in place beforehand, which, we never want to think that bad things are going to happen. But the reality is, as you said, that's what life will all throw everyone an obstacle. So I think that's wise advice to kind of, and make the decision of how you want to face this. I love that idea. So you're in the marathon. Where do you feel you are? What mile? How far?
At this point, he's in remission,
Right.
and right now he's in what they call maintenance, which is every other month they have to, do X-rays and CAT scans, CT scans of his chest and abdomen, and really it's just continuing hoping that it's not going to come back.
I feel like we've ended the one marathon and we're in training in case we have to run another one.
Yeah. We're just trying to catch our breath now, and we're looking forward to summer, so maybe we can actually do something, go places.
Sure.
You won't be immunocompromised.
That's right. Yeah. So
what was great was seeing how the Air Force Academy showed up to support you guys, how your community showed up, your neighbors already showed up, and seeing that you're getting that support system. And I think that's a testament to your family, and especially to that man right there, that little boy, Joshua, who is a ninja warrior. I think you've inspired a lot of people.
Matt, remember?
I'm Matt. You don't need to know my name. Your name's the important one, because it's Joshua Ninja Warrior.
Give him the muscles.
Yeah. There we go.
Matt, my school starts in 2 minutes, okay?
2 minutes, then I'm going to let you go. But I just want to say thank you, guys. And this is a reminder of why we do Warrior Wednesdays. Your family, the Salmoiraghis. I love what you guys have had to share, and I love the way you fought. And I hope people can take inspiration. And as I always say to everybody out there, keep fighting.